The following blurry faces content is intended for informational purposes and for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised.
In a challenging time in my own life as a new single mom, Ben always helped me out with my kids. He could not wait for me to return to the U.S., so he was buying them clothes and shoes, shipping them overseas. Not an inexpensive thing to do. Of course, me on coming back here, a good old negative Nancy, I expressed all the reasons it would not work, and he would tell me not to worry about it. He'd say, "We have this," referring to himself and my parents. "We'll work it all out," he'd say. I rested in that. When I received the news, I was in my apartment outside of Amsterdam, enjoying an evening with a friend. Our kids were all playing when the phone rang. When I heard my dad's voice on the other end, he could hardly talk. He handed the phone to my mother, stuttering. All I could remember is hearing my brother was shot and is dead. We were all in a state of shock. My good friend Henna booked a plane ticket for me and cared for my kids, so I could attend my brother's funeral and burial at the Parkview Cemetery in Livonia, Michigan. Still to this day, I cannot imagine what my parents went through, what my mom went through. She had just spent the previous evening with him, just a few hours before that horrific night. My parents went through so much, I witnessed it with my own eyes. Their grief, depression, their sadness, and then that awful trial, having to relive what happened that dreadful night. The suspect who was in custody became known to all of us, of course. We all came to know his name. Michael Allen Chappell. During the trial, his mother was there. My mom told me that his mother would make hand gestures like a gun toward my parents at some point, perhaps during the sentencing as the verdict was read. I miss my parents so much. If I could hug them just one more time for all they endured. Michael Chappell robbed us of so much. Words can never express. My father was just a shell of a man following my brother's death. He was never the same again. Ben was his only son. My mom went through a deep depression. I couldn't bear to see it or hear her voice when she called me overseas. And knowing that grandchildren can soften many wounds, my resolve to return to the U.S. increased. I returned Mother's Day 1993 after a long immigration application process. And then, of course, Ben was robbed of his God-given right to live. He was robbed of finishing his engineering degree, possibly getting married and having his own children. He was robbed of coming to any kind of ceremony that we would have on our side of the family, his niece and nephew graduating, growing up, as they were robbed of the advice and the guidance he would have offered them through their lives. I will never understand what this individual gained. In a deposition given to a Detroit detective, he stated that when he approached Ben, he asked him to borrow $20. I didn't know that a request is when the answer is non-negotiable. But according to a bank employee, my brother's debit card was found the following morning still in the machine. So does that mean that the money was never dispensed? According to a Detroit Free Press 1992 article, it stated, and I quote, "The gunman demanded that Lafour hand over $50 just withdrawn from an automatic teller machine." You may say it's irrelevant, but it's all so senseless. But due to recent events, I've had a renewed need to know, or at least try to. According to this nighttime nemesis, when he asked to borrow $20, my brother refused. And that's when, according to his deposition, he walked a few blocks to a friend's home to get his friend's rifle. He said, "Man, let me use your rifle. I gotta beef right fast." Then he walked back to the bank, and Ben was still there. I can't imagine sticking around after any kind of encounter at a bank. But as my brother saw that rifle, he said, "Man, I'll do anything. Just let me get my Bible." And that's when he allegedly ducked into his car and grabbed his Bible, along with a gun. He aimed it at the 18-year-old, who was armed with a rifle, who then aimed it and shot Ben. Again, thank you for listening to part 1 and now 2 of my story of how I lost my dear brother Ben in a brutal ATM robbery in 1992 in Detroit, Michigan. I have always wanted to share what happened to him, and after so many years, I finally am. What we've experienced, I wish truly on no one, yet I know my family is just one of so many who have. If you would like to support my content, a free way is to like, comment, and subscribe. For more info, click on the channel description, and I hope you'll share this video as well. Your support means so much. And now on to part 3.